How long were you on the show for, Harry?
Well, you do, like, it's about 21 days, but you have a week when you first go, Mark, didn't you, where you're in lockdown. Yeah. You go there and you have a chaperone who's going to look after you. And I had a New Zealand lady was looking after me, and she just follows you. It's a nightmare. I mean, the silly thing, you're with her, and when you're in a hotel miles and miles from the middle of nowhere, you know, and there's people there who are over in Australia on holiday, and, you know, they're staying there, and they're from England, and they'll see you like, hello, Harry, how you doing? We're big Spurs fans. We're over on holiday, yeah. And I'm with this bird, right? And they look at her and they think, she ain't Sandra, right? What you doing in this motel in the middle of nowhere?
Well, listen, at least they wondered who the random bird was. With me, I was with a geezer.
The most important thing you need to be a great football manager is great players. Yeah. It does help, believe you me. When you've got good players, you know, let's be honest, Romesh, you could have probably done the double with Arsenal 1 year, you know what I mean? You know, you could have, they were so good. Well, I mean, what are you doing? You know, you walk in the dressing room, all right, lads, yeah, enjoy it today, let's go out, have a nice win. You know, I mean, honestly, it's people don't realise, even, you know, I would go to Old Trafford and I'd, you know, would take the teams in. Fergie's got a team like winning the league every year, and it's, you know, Alex would take the team. Alex say, "Come and have a cup of tea." I went, "Yeah." 10 minutes. The players go out for warm up. 2:10. I'm in Fergie's office. Me and Fergie are having a bet on we got the racing on, right? I swear, he's got the racing post. We're sitting having a bet on the 220 at Adoc Park or somewhere. What are you betting, Alex? I've got this one, Harry. It's a good thing. This, right? Okay, we're on the phone having a bet. 2:45, 2:45. So I've got one in the 2:45, right? Now it's 2:45. Suddenly I can hear the players coming in. I had their studs. I went, Alex, I better go. They're coming in. No, he said, they've only got 2 offences. Now, if I'd have had his team, I'd have probably sat in there and watched the 3:30. I mean, you know, it's all right for him, isn't it? You know, he could have sat in there, run down to the bench. How are we doing? We're 3-0 up, Gaffer. All right, keep it up. Hang on. Hello, is that a betting shop? Yeah, what's in the 3:45? I mean, it was, you know. That is the difference. Good players make it such an easy job.
Harry, do you remember the first time you two faced each other?
First time? No, I remember one particular game that will always stick in my mind was when Jamie caught Frank. I was managing West Ham, and Jamie caught Frank with a bad challenge, and Frank came off to get treatment. And it was Les Seeley was my goalkeeping coach. I absolutely love Les. He was such a special person for me. We lost Les at 40, I think he was 41 when he died of a heart attack, you know. But Les was my goalkeeping coach at the time there. And he said to young Frank, get back on and do him good and proper. He said, he's done you there. You get back on and make sure you do him. And I'm stood there thinking, this ain't right. It's my hang on, it's my son. He's telling him to go and do him. You know, it was strange. I didn't say it. What can I say to Les? Oh, no, you can't tell him to do that because it's Jamie. What do you know?
I think and Roy Evans was great. I loved Roy, and he always used to say to me, "Look, Jamie, do you think this might be a good idea? Because I know how emotionally difficult it is. Because it's not an everyday relationship, Dad and mine. It's weird." Though he's my dad, he's my best mate. So for me, it was difficult because there were certain games when Dad needed to win to maybe get out the relegation zone. I'm sort of compromised to a certain extent. It's such an unusual position to play against one of your dad's teams.
The Kiyan Prince Foundation was very, very important to be set up because a beautiful one of my crew, one of my little team that I built up that God given me, Kiyan, was killed outside his school gates. Now, every parent knows that is an absolute nightmare. You don't send your children to school and expect a phone call that they've been stabbed. So to get that phone call obviously changed the whole cycle of my life and what direction it was going in, because it's very, very hard to explain what it's like to hear not just the words of your son being stabbed, but when you get to the hospital, you got to hear someone telling you that he's tried to keep your son alive and he's opened his heart, he's massaged his heart, and he's just tried to manually just get it going again. And you don't get much intimate than that to save a life. So I'm forever thankful to the doctor for his efforts, but it wasn't meant to be. But how do you handle that? How does anyone handle that as a parent, man? Come on now. And there's nothing that prepares you for that. Just think about how much you do for your kids. Just think about you'd rather, die than let your kids suffer. And, and I was like any other parent out there. And to see your son not breathing, to see him just laying there looking like he's sleeping, looking like he'd wake up, but he ain't gonna wake up. That's the kind of pain that you know nothing about. I remember having this conversation with myself saying, I didn't know there was a pain that you couldn't feel physically because no one's actually hit you and hurt you, but it's emotional and it's so deep that it actually brings pain out physically. So my heart was physically in pain. I would hold my heart. It was hurting. I started getting heart problems. Heart murmurs was coming in even worse. Panic attacks. Yeah, it wasn't good. I had to go hospital. Your body's just not built for that, to take that kind of news, bro. Seriously. And I wasn't built for that. So to be able to go through that process, I was in this space every day of pain and didn't quite know how I was going to get through this from day to day. How do you there's stuff that you want to look forward to in life. I didn't have nothing to look forward to anymore. Trying to achieve and trying to make money and trying to do stuff in life. It didn't mean nothing anymore. It was just empty.
I was filming King Gary and we were filming over in Chigwell. And I go in this little cafe and I was with my wife and I was like, I don't think I had a couple of beers the night before or whatever. I was a bit hazy-headed. And I go in, have my breakfast, have a big fry up, and I go into the toilets. And, I don't want to be too graphic, but, I dropped my guts on my big boy. It was not a pretty sight or a pretty smell in there. And I've opened the door, come out of the toilets, and Joe Cole's standing there. And I've left the door open to the toilet, so the stink's coming out. I lost my head. It's like Joe Cole. I'm like, hello, Joe, how you doing, mate? And sometimes I forget I'm 6'7", and I'm gonna, Harry knows me. I'm a gentle giant, but at the time I'm quite an imposing guy coming out of the toilet. And I'm, hello, mate, how you doing? And all that, chatting to him, and he looks absolutely petrified. And I'm like, oh, I know Jamie really well and Harry and all that, and he's looking at me like I'm a nutter that's just come bowling around, and he's like sort of half shook me hand, and he walks into the toilet, and he does this thing where he walks in and then his head just rocks back. I've sort of mentioned it. I hope that you wouldn't remember me at Soccer Aid. I doubt you remember this. I bumped into you at Chigwell and I'd had a turnout in the toilet. He went, no, I remember you.
When you was a kid, Romesh, did you see this being your life going forward, being what you're doing now, or did you have other? Was you a sporting man? I know your mum said you was in the tug of war team. She said they used to I remember that day she said they used to put the rope round him because he was quite fat. She said they couldn't pull him.
Quality. Do you know what's so embarrassing? Is your mum saying to one of football managing's greats, oh yeah, no, he's very good at sport, he can do the tug of war. It's so humiliating.
That was an amazing day, Frankie, wasn't it, Ascot? I was there that day.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Did you back on 7?
No. I wish I'd have had trebles, fourfolds, fivefolds, sixfolds, and an accumulator.
Is that why you do podcasts these days?
I wouldn't be doing this, Frankie, if I'd have bet the 7 of them.
I really couldn't be happier at that time. And of course, I think if you got in the first team, the appearance money and the win bonus were greater than your wages then. So
yeah.
It wasn't really about the money.
It was about
football. That was it. And then Ian Greaves gave me my debut.
what a man! What a man! Easy. Dean was a great football man, wasn't he? We used to go to Lillishall, Sam. The highlight of the year was the managers and coaches course at Lillishall, where you'd all go, and you'd have that, whatever I can't remember how long it was now. It might be 8, 9, 10 days or whatever, and all the coaches and managers, you'd be there, and there was more transfer stuff done. You'd go out at night up the pub and you'd talk. And I remember one particular year, one funny story. Ian was one of the leaders, Jim Smith, they were all there. And Walter Winterbottom got up and spoke, who was the England manager. Charles Hughes was there. I think it was Charles Hughes, actually, and he got up and he spoke about how he'd been to South America studying that year. And the reason the South Americans, the Brazilians, are so good at football, they play football on the beaches. They learn to control the ball with the uneven bounce off the beach, off the sand. He said that's how they master their technique. So Jim Smith, who was sitting there, said, in that case, he went, why ain't Torquay, Bournemouth and Brighton top of the bleeding league?